Today we're going to do what's called inverse functions. To do inverse, it just simply means interchanging the x and the y. So our normal function is xy, but if we want the inverse, we would take y and put it in the x spot and the x in the y spot. So we basically change the variables. So if you look at this relation, we have 1, negative 2, 2, 5, and 4, negative 1. If I want to know the inverse, I would switch the x and the y, and when we switch them, you would have new points, and if you were to graph them by looking over here on the right, you would have the inverse of this triangle. Alright, just like switching the coordinates, you can do the same thing for a function. So we have this function, and we want to find the inverse of this function. We're just going to keep in mind that this function is really y equals 2x minus 5, because the function is the same as y. So if I want to do the inverse, I'm going to switch these. So it becomes x equals 2y minus 5. Now, to get a function, we must always have it equal to y, so we have to get y by itself. So we have to solve this function. So I'm going to subtract the 2y, so I have x minus 2y equals negative 5. Then I'm going to subtract the x, and so I have a negative 2y equals negative x minus 5, and I divide everything by negative 2. And so my inverse function becomes this. Or, as they wrote right here, inverse function, which is represented with the negative 1, is x plus 5 all over 2. These two are the exact same function. To verify whether a function, that's what we're going to do, are inverses, so I have two of them, here's two functions, I'm going to do a composed of each. So I'm going to do FOG of x, and then I'm going to do the GOF of the function. And if they both equal x, they're inverses. So let's do the FOG first. So that means I'm going to take f of x, and I'm going to substitute g of x in, which means f of, and g of x is 1/3 x minus 3. So after I do that, I'm going to substitute this into the f function, so it becomes 3 times 1/3 x minus 3 plus 9. So I do the math. By distributing, I get x minus 9 plus 9, and I get x after these cancel, so it equals x. So as long as my blue function that I'm about to do equals x, they're inverses. So let's do the blue function. So in this case, we're going to compose the g with the f, and the f happens to be 3x plus 9. So then I'm going to have g of 3x plus 9 that I'm going to substitute. So if I put that into the g function, I have 1/3 times 3x plus 9 minus 3. If I distribute, I get x plus 3 minus 3, and these two cancel out to 0, so I get equals x. And since they are both equal to x, these two functions are inverses. If they didn't equal x, they would not be functions.